Hello class 10. In this video, I will be teaching you your new chapter, that is It's a Queer World. Okay, and this chapter is just the next chapter after that Lincoln text. Now, previously in the previous chapter, we have come to know about various characteristics of Abraham Lincoln, that how he had changed his job, how a simple boy of log cabin was able to live in a White House, how he became from a simple boy to a president. Okay, in this text we are going to read the different characteristics of Lincoln, how kind-hearted he was, how very how very generous he was, what were his feelings for the people. So these are his some of the aspects that we will come to know in this particular prose piece. Now this prose text is basically in a form of a play, and considering an important situation or an incident, we'll get to know what were the characteristics of Abraham Lincoln that was the most striking. Now, as per the name of the text suggests that it's a queer world. What does the word queer means? Queer means strange. So it's a very strange world. Now, why is the world strange? Why is the writer considering the world to be strange? So we'll get to know about this in this play, with a very ironic end at the very last, concluding like that. It's a very beautiful play. So take out your book to page number 70, ready and reader. In this video, I will be teaching you part 1, that is page number 70 to page number 71. So here I start. Scene 1, an April evening in 1865. So the year is 1865, you can mark it. A farmhouse near Apron, it's the name of the place. It's Apron is the this entire situation is taking place in a farmhouse where they have put up a camp. So who are the people present over here? General Grant, Commander-in-Chief under Lincoln of the North Army. They are seated at the table with Captain Mellins. So Grant, Commander-in-Chief, they are seated at the table with Captain Mellins. Dennis and Olderly sits at the table writing. So there's another personality, Dennis, who sits and who writes down, maybe taking notes or records. Entered President Lincoln. Grant rises and salutes. So during this situation, Lincoln gets in and everyone gets up in order to show him respect, gets up and rises to greet him. Like when it's a very bad example, but then also when I used to go to your class, I wouldn't consider myself to be what Lincoln is, but in order to just give you an example, that when I used to go to your class, in order to greet me and give me a little bit of importance, I used to rise up and greet me, good afternoon, good morning. So similar way they are actually greeting him. So here it goes. Grant: I wasn't expecting you, sir. So Grant says, sir, I wasn't expecting you. Lincoln: no, but I couldn't keep away. How's it going? So he says that, yes, I know, but I couldn't keep myself away. When my soldiers are at war, when my country, when my place, the place I belong to is at war, how can I keep myself away? So I couldn't keep myself away. And how is everything going? Probably they are having a war. After that, they all settled down. They said, Grant: Met sent a word an hour and a half ago that Lee was surrounded all but 2 miles, which was closing in. So then he gives a very important information that Maid is another person who had given information half an hour ago that Lee, General Lee, you remember we have read about him in the previous text, that he was actually working for the southern part. So he had surrendered. We had learnt about that in the previous text. So here that Lee, he was surrounded by people. So and this was it. Lincoln: that ought to settle in A. So he said that we need to settle it down. Grant: unless anything goes wrong in those 2 miles, sir, I'm expecting a further report from Ed every minute. So he says that, sir, he's being taken here. So in these 2 miles, if everything goes correct, then I guess we're going to solve the issue. Lincoln: Would there be more fighting? See, this statement is very important, children. He says, will there be more fighting? It means he doesn't want fighting anymore. Nobody wants, but being a president, although he had to fight, but it was for a specific cause, of course, but he did not want to fight. He was very much against it. By this statement, we can understand with this question of his, that when he's saying that, would there be more fighting? Means he's thinking that, fighting has lot of brutality in it, so he really doesn't want to have any kind of war. So next he says, Grant says, it will probably mean fighting through the night, more or less, but Lee must realize it's hopeless before morning. So we will have to fight till the night, and by the morning I think Lee will realize that everything is out from his hand and things will be in our side, so things will be okay. Then an elderly, you remember Dennis, who was writing. Then he says, a dispatch, sir. So something has come, a letter or something. So something has come. Grant. Yes, the elderly goes and a young officer comes in. So after that, a young officer comes in. So there is somebody, sir, not a letter, somebody, sir, in order to meet you. So, he wants to hand you over a dispatch, okay? A letter or whatever, information or something. So that officer comes and hands a dispatch to Grant. So he hands that letter to Grant. Officer, from General Maid, sir. So this thing is from General Maid, so I give it to you. Grant taking it. Thank you. Then he opens it up and then he reads. You needn't wait. The officer salutes and goes. Then he says that you can go. So Grant is giving the instruction to the person here. I mean the officer who had come up with the dispatch. So he says that you don't have to wait. You can just go. The officer salutes and goes. Yes, they have closed the ring. So yes, they are coming to the place. Ring here means the place. They are just approaching. Maid gives them 10 hours. It's time at 8. So maid gives them 10 hours and I think it will be at 8 when they're going to come and everything is going to settle up. That's 6 o'clock in the morning. So it will be 6 o'clock in the morning. Everything is going to be settled. He hands the dispatch to Lincoln. Then he gives the, the dispatch, the letter or something to Lincoln. Lincoln. We must be merciful. Bob Lee has been a gallant fellow. So we all must be merciful. He has been a very courageous gallant. He's a very courageous fellow. See, whatever General Lee had done is for his own place, in order to justify his own land. Now see, we are constantly at war with Pakistan or let's say any other country. But we cannot directly charge their armies because their army is also doing the same thing that our army is doing. What is it doing? That the army is basically is protecting his or her his land. So similarly our armies are also protecting our land. So you cannot judge them. They are doing their duty. So obviously General Lee was against Lincoln, but he was specifically doing what he had to do during that time in order to save his land, and he had done everything for his country. Okay, so he's a very gallant fellow. So we should be merciful. We should treat him well and properly. Grant, taking a paper, perhaps you will look through the list, sir. I hope it's the last we shall have. So, sir, here's the list I am giving you. I think this is the last list of people that we have, maybe tortured or kind of we had fought with. So, this is the last, or maybe killed. So, this is the list. Let's see what the list is all about. Lincoln taking the paper. It's horrible part of business, Grant. Any shootings? So they have got hold of this many people. So are there any shootings? Are there? Grant. 1. Lincoln. Why can't you do without it? See, in every interrogative statement that he is telling, we can understand that how very what kind of character he is having. Okay, so he is not at all for fighting or for shooting. He's basically against it. So he's asking many times, can't we do anything else? can't we have any other options in order to rectify the sins they have done, rather than shooting? So he feels miserable, but he can't help out. Okay. Then Grant, Mullins opening a book. So he opens up a book. William Scott, sir, it's a rather hard case. So, sir, it's only one person. It's William Scott, and it's a very hard case. Lincoln, what is it? Mullins, he had just done a heavy march. So, heavy march, march past. So, that was for a longer time. So, heavy march. Sir, and volunteered for double guard duty to relieve a sick friend. He was found asleep at his post. He shuts this book. Then from this book, he had read out this, this case. What was the case? There's a person, William Scott, who had a very, tough march past. And after that he had got a double duty. He had to leave one of his friend who was sick, and he was found asleep. So that was very it was a very punishable act. Means he was guarding and he was found asleep. It is a very punishable act. But see, he had got his reasons. I'm not considering the matter to be not important, but he had his reasons. Means he had got a tough march past, and he is a young fellow. Then he is getting his double duty. Maybe he had felt tired, but obviously sleeping in the post like that is very wrong. Grant, I was anxious to spare him, but it couldn't be done. I wanted to spare, but I couldn't help. It was a very critical place at a gravely critical time. The place where he fell asleep and the post he was holding. Sleeping at that place, it was a very punishable act. Lincoln, when is it to be? Tomorrow at daybreak. So they are thinking of killing him, okay, for doing that. During that time, maybe that was the only option. If you do anything wrong, the punishment is to shoot you out. So when are you planning to do it? So he says that tomorrow at daybreak, sir. Lincoln, I don't see it will do him any good to be shot. Where is he? So we only punish people when we think that particular person should rectify. Why do we give punishment? So that person rectifies. Okay, if I give a person punishment and there is no he doesn't rectify, so that punishment actually is valueless. Okay. So Lincoln says that okay, fine then, but this shooting is not going to do him any good. Then he asks, where is he? Mullins, here, sir. Lincoln, can I go and see him? So now he wants to see the boy. Now what happens next, I'm going to teach you in the next video. Thank you.